Hello, true believers, and welcome back to another edition of BK's Bullets. My name is not Brent Casina. My name is Jim Afanis, and every single week I do a video on this very channel where I highlight an older DC animated film. I like to call it DC's Animated Classics. Today I'm going to be reviewing 2012's Superman vs. the Elite. Now, before we get into today's review, I'd love for you guys to subscribe to the channel. Brent has been doing a weekly review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and this particular finale was awesome. So he's got a lot to say on the subject, so do yourself a favor and subscribe and go check out some of his other comic book related news and reviews and video reviews and all that wonderful stuff. But today I'm here with a very special job to talk to you guys about Superman versus the Elite. And I have, since I've started this journey of going through all of these various animated films, I have always struggled with, can you write a good Superman story? And I have to say that I feel like Superman versus the Elite got it right. This was based on a comic book, the Action Comics issue 775, which was in March 2001. I'm reading the Wikipedia article, by the way. I didn't memorize any of this. And this comic book story is called What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way? And this was adapted from that comic. Basically, it pits Superman against a new group of superheroes which call themselves the Elite. Now, the Elite comprise of four very, very interesting characters. You have Manchester Black, Cold Cast, Menagerie, and Hat. Hat is a drunk magician. Just to give you an idea of how wild some of this is, this is by far the most magical I've seen a Superman story. Not to say that the idea of a guy flying around with super strength and lasers out of his eyes and can breathe super cold air makes any real sense anyway. But typically his struggles are usually grounded somewhat in reality. He's fighting against an alien from another... Oh, well, there you go. There goes that theory. My point is they're a little bit more believable. They're more based on super strength, super cunning, that sort of thing. It was interesting. This particular iteration of Superman's story really pitted him against more supernatural forces, something I would expect you would see in like a Constantine movie, for example, with Hat being a magician and Menagerie being a woman who has these demonic beasts that grow out of her. She can shoot like cobras out of her body and her wings turn into these kind of creatures. Very, very interesting idea. You also have Manchester Black, who's a telepath. And they, oh, by the way, they all fly around on a giant ship, which actually is a lobotomized alien, which can teleport them from place to place instantly. A lot to take in. Now, how do these guys tussle with Superman? Now, that is probably the weakest part of the story. As much as I love the intro, which had a very UK pop feel to it, and a lot of this taking place in or around the United Kingdom, particularly in the England area, it was very interesting because while it was different to see Superman out of his element, for him to come to grips with the fact that maybe he is not the world icon he was meant to believe that he was. When this other group comes in and they start murdering people, something Superman is violently opposed to, when they start kind of taking into this own vigilante type justice where they're killing key leaders to make sure decisions aren't made, they're flat out killing troops, they're being much more aggressive on the justice front than Superman is. Superman is painfully aware that the popular opinion of him has diminished greatly to the point that he begins to question himself as, maybe this isn't, maybe the world is like grown up past me. Maybe I am just, I'm not the symbol that I once was. I'm not really sure. I'm thinking back to 2012, what was going on in the world. I'm sure something inspired this story as a world event or maybe a comic book related event. Maybe comic books were becoming self-aware that they thought maybe they shouldn't be comics anymore. I'm not really sure, but it was a very interesting take because Superman is always calm and cool and collected. And he knows he's always going to win because he really can't die. Except for that one time he did. But other than that, he's pretty much in charge. So for him to have this doubt and almost to feel like if there was some sort of popularity contest that he lost it, very interesting perspective on him. And I really enjoyed kind of seeing that doubt in him. And I think they played that very, very well. when he joined up with the elite, it was almost like he was a group, he was a subset to them rather than when you think of the Justice League, it's Superman and I guess Batman, but they're the pillars of the Justice League, they're the ones that are kind of like commanding the group, and they're the ones who are the generals of the army. In this team up initially with Superman and the Elite, it's very different. Superman definitely takes a back seat to the action, and he is not really the focal anymore. And I think he struggles with that. And I liked seeing that. That was a very vulnerable place for him to be. And him kind of working through the idea that he isn't the most popular person. When the when the elite start to become more aggressive and society begins to root and cheer for that, it puts Superman in a very uncomfortable position because he's like watching this, herd of people, this society like turning on him and embracing this violence and this carnage, something that he's really against, which was a very interesting touch. Ultimately, the culmination, and to me, like I started to say earlier, the worst part of this film, I thought, was how quickly he decides, okay, that's it. I have to go after these people. There isn't really a lot of give and take initially, and I get it. It's an animated film. It's meant for kids. It's only an hour, blah, 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 blah. I'm not trying to be too critical on it, but I would have liked to see more of Superman really conflicting with this decision that he has to kind of turn on his new friends, the super team that just established he has to immediately take apart. And how he does so, very interesting way. Is that he challenges them basically to this duel. They end up going to the moon to fight, during which point Superman violently gets destroyed, beat down. His cape is all ripped, which I thought was invulnerable at some point, but maybe that's a different iteration of Superman. His uniform gets all ripped. He gets all bloody. His eye gets all messed up. Like somebody's like sticking their thumb in his eye, and he looks messed up. And he basically gets demolished. And the elite come back and they're like, hey, look, we've done it. Superman's a chump. Let's kill him. And that's when Superman snaps. And it appears for a brief while, which I was rooting and cheering for, but I knew ultimately it wouldn't end up this way. Superman systematically destroys these people, like murders them, rips them apart. It's violent. It's not invincible violent, not like Omni-Man, but it's violent. And I was like, this is great. Superman has snapped. Maybe in my head, I'm thinking, this is what must lead into this, this world domination of like one world, one Superman, this martial law, something that we saw in the Injustice video game series. But no, it was all a ruse where Superman doesn't kill anybody. And he's got all of his super robots, the Superman robot army, I don't know what they're called, who are behind the scenes taking all the villains away and making sure none of the innocent people are hurt in the city. And because they fought on the moon, then they fight in Metropolis, because of course, why not? Everybody's saved at the end. And then Superman is winding up with the old big Superman punch to, basically punch a hole through this guy's skull, Manchester Black's skull. He's like, oh, by the way, this is all not real. I could be scary and violent, and it is easy to succumb to violence, but I'm not violent. And then suddenly the entire world, who was just rooting for the elite squad, suddenly starts cheering again for Superman. It was just like, wait, what? And then the movie ends. So I would have liked to see that concept played out a little bit more, but okay. I guess the idea here is that Superman he'll trick you, but ultimately he is a good guy. I would have loved to see this go further. As you know, I love when DC is dark and brooding and menacing and violent and raw. This is definitely not that, but I'm not picking on it. One other side note, just something I want to add. The art style was very interesting. This is the roundest chin Superman I've seen animated to date, and I didn't like it. I felt like he just didn't have that hard, chiseled look. His face was very smooth. He had that Joseph Lieberman Captain America chest thing going where his chest stuck out ridiculously far. The art style was very, very, very different. I'm not saying I hated it. It was just different, very stylized. But the one thing I noticed that really made me laugh, besides the rounded chin, which I wasn't a big fan of, every single scene in this movie, and go back and watch it. It was a good movie, but go back and watch. Every single scene features a fat guy. Now, I'm a fat guy, so I'm not fat shaming or whatever. I mean, if I am, it's of my own self. I know I could lose some weight, but every single scene of this movie, there's like a fat guy in there. I mean, even one of the elite, the cold cast character, he's kind of a chubby dude. It's so funny to me. I don't know if this was like a gag or something, but like every when there's a group of civilians, it's like one really fat guy and then like a couple thin guys. Like when the elite come down for the first time, um, and all these workers are on the dock feeding the stray dog food. There's a fat guy, and then we cut to the scene where they're in, Superman. Well, as Clark Kent, he's typing on his computer, which is hysterical the way his little fingers are going on the keyboard. And who's standing behind him? A fat guy. I'm like, and I noticed that my wife was sitting, on the couch next to me, kind of, sort of paying attention, reading her book, kind of, sort of paying attention, and she looks up and she's like, I'm going to watch this with you for like 5 minutes because she didn't, she's not as interested as I am. And she's like, Jim, you're 100% right. Every scene features a fat guy, like pronounced in a very weird way. The airplane pilots, there's a fat guy. The soldiers, when these two fictional countries are fighting, which is irrelevant to the story, there's a fat guy. So go back and check it out. I think you'll get a kick out of it. It's like a little director's cut. You think of like Mystery Science Theater when you watch this. I think you'll get a kick out of that. As I wrap this video up, would I recommend this? Absolutely. I think it was really cool to see Superman in a very different state. I think Superman had a lot of self-doubt here, which is something I like seeing him in that space because it adds value to his character. And despite the art style was different, I did enjoy it. I really, really like some of the ways that the characters were drawn. Superman's so big, his shoulders are so fat, his cape is almost like a thong in his back. But it was a cool touch. I liked it. So thumbs up for me on Superman versus the Elite. What I want to hear from you guys in the comments below is your thoughts. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did I miss something? Sound off. Tell me all those wonderful things. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back again next week with yet another random video. We'll see what I come up with. But until then, I want you guys to take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys in the funny pages.